Welcome to Conversations with Aunt Elizabeth, the podcast inspired by my book, I'm a Registered Dietitian, Now What?, where I have the absolute joy to sit back, relax, and have a conversation about nutrition with a variety of people who share their personal story of passion and purpose, especially registered dietitians. Today's conversation is with Erin Kenney, a registered dietitian living in Boston with a passion for mental health, sports nutrition, and cooking healthy and delicious food. Erin is very passionate about helping individuals achieve their healthiest self through food, nutrition, and she really sleeps, eats, and breathes this message. In our conversation today, we talk about how confusing nutrition messaging can be for everyone, including dietitians. What is also very special about Erin is she truly believes in food as medicine, focusing on holistic remedies in her practice and studying to be a holistic cannabis practitioner. She has also branded her own line of CBD oil and shares what to look for when purchasing a CBD product. They are all not created equal, and I appreciate her sharing her insight. Please enjoy my conversation with Erin. To get to meet you a little bit more over the airwaves instead of Instagram, because
Instagram is great, but it's great to connect. I love getting more in depth. It's wonderful.
I do too. I think it's nice just to have like a voice or just something else a little bit more personal about someone through an actual conversation. So I'm excited to learn more about you as a dietitian and kind of maybe take me back to when you got started in dietetics. What kind of got you interested in the field?
Yeah. So there's a couple different things that got me interested in it. And so I originally started in my undergrad, I started with a wellness major and was really doing it from a place of, I just want to learn more about nutrition. I grew up a full-time athlete and I was always very active, but I never really had any focus on, what I was putting in my body. And then also as a side note, just long history of mental illness, not only mostly in the family. My father really suffered most of my life from mental illness, and so that was always something that was a struggle for our family. But then also dealing with my own mental health issues, and so I kind of just took an interest in nutrition coming out of high school and not being an athlete anymore, or on a team. And I said, it seems like I'm not really sure what I want to do with my life. I'm pretty creative and I like working with people, but that was my only real compass. And so I said, well, why don't I just pick a major that at least allows me to, benefit myself? So that's where I went with nutrition and was interested more so in the, kinesiology and more of the physical science aspect of things. And so it wasn't until I graduated that I decided that I wanted to go the dietetics route, which was awfully convenient.
Of course.
So my, my father passed away my junior year of college. And, after making my own changes to my health and seeing the impact that made on not only my physical, but my mental health, really inspired me, the death of my dad. And then also just my own experience with seeing how it impacted me was what propelled me to really kind of share my story, my dad's story with the rest of the world and pursue that passion for the life that I had discovered as well. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's a very personal side to, a lot of people don't have that strong personal connection. They might be like, oh, I want to eat better just because I want to feel better. But when you have such a personal thing happen in your life, that it does kind of change you.
Oh, absolutely. And a lot of people used to say to me, and will still do, and they'll say, how is it sustainable for you, your lifestyle? And I always say, well, first of all, because it's a lifestyle, it's not a diet. And, other part of it is just that it's something that it's a passion. It's a true passion. And I'm very fortunate to have found a career in that. And I know you talk a lot about that on your page and with people. And I just love that. I think it's so important that, whether it be your main career or your side career, that everyone has, some sort of purpose-driven passion behind what they're doing in life.
Otherwise, you're gonna hate it like halfway down the road.
Exactly.
And then you're gonna be like, I just want to be a barista at Starbucks and just like rethink my whole path. And I know that happens to people too, which is totally fine. But I agree. Like there has to be something fueling your fire. And, like, helping you want to keep doing it.
Absolutely.
So since you did take since after the fact, after college, you kind of probably had to do a whole bunch of things just to kind of become a dietitian, or did you kind of have most of your background done? Then you just kind of needed to do the internship?
Yeah. So after my undergrad, I said I wanted to get a master's degree. And so I moved home and decided to just finish up a couple more courses. I had to do organic chemistry. Loved organic chemistry. Doesn't everyone? And
oh my gosh.
And then I only had a couple of classes to take, and so did that finished the dietetics route along with doing my master's. So I kind of killed two birds with one stone. So that was that, and it actually ended up taking me about 2 years for the master's and then finishing the dietetics, which wasn't too bad. Given, what I had already gone through with my undergrad. And so it felt like a long time, but then it did fly by, and then it was internship time. And I did Simmons in Boston for my internship. And I know we talk a lot, you work a lot with like RD to Bs, and I went through a lot of struggles to get an internship in terms of learning about the process first and foremost, because I remember we never really had much education around, how to apply for an internship, or, what was even out there, or what types of positions were out there for RDs. I really had no education on that. And so there was that. And then also being denied from a program that I had only applied to one program during the first round, and was kind of advised to do so, and was told, you'll be fine, you'll get in, so I was assuming I was having this guaranteed, next step in my life. And, some things didn't work out the way that I had planned, and it felt like the end of the world at the time. But it pursued me to then, really learn about the process and what else was out there in terms of internships. And I ended up getting an internship at Simmons in Boston, which was, they say one door closes, another door opens. It was like sign from God, the best thing that could have happened to me, because it was just such a great opportunity. And I moved to Boston, and now I've started my career here. So really propelled me into my next journey, which again, at the time when I didn't get in the first time was, it's hard to see it when you're in that position.
Well, and I think, don't you feel like it's hard too when you feel like you're a good student and you feel like you work super hard, and then you're just totally devastated by something that you thought, I'm a shoo-in for this.
Yeah. No, it was a good life lesson for me. Honestly, it was really, really a great experience. At the time, I didn't see that, but
no, it's too hard. It's too hard at that moment. Absolutely.
Yeah. But
that's great though.
I just feel for people going through the matching process and everything. It's stressful. It's really tough. And, I give everyone a lot of credit for going through it. We work hard, so.
I know. And I think dietitians need to get some more recognition for that, because I think we hear about, like match day for doctors and, where they're going to get their programs at, but no one talks about how stressful it is for dietitians.
And not to mention, we get one, and don't doctors get like multiple different ones?
They get option. Yes. Yeah. They have I think 3, maybe 2 to 3 options that they can kind of choose between.
Yeah. We're one and done. Yeah. Like we don't.
Right. Right. If you don't get it, and if you don't like it, well, either you're out of luck. You just have to go.
Yeah.
I had a person in my internship. She actually had to move to Iowa. She lived in Arkansas, and she had to do like a 6-month one. And this was like her only option. And she moved from Arkansas for 6 months just to do her internship.
That is so ridiculous.
Had a husband, had a complete life. But I'm like, that just shows like some people, those are the people that really want to be dietitians. So if you keep pursuing it, like you did too, you got denied that first time, and then you kept at it and you found one that was actually a better choice.
Yeah, and that's why us dietitians are so resilient.
Right. Right. They make us strong.
Yep,
Not because we want to be, but
exactly.
So how long? So tell me more about your internship. How long was it? What kind of things did you focus on?
Yeah. So Simmons is a community-focused internship. And so, obviously you have the standard rotations. And I loved my program directors. They were so awesome. One of the things that initially drew me to the program was the fact that they really customized your experience in the sense that they took feedback from, all of the previous interns. And if there wasn't a good site, they would, adjust that. Or if you had a certain interest, they really tried to match you to either areas that you were comfortable in, but then also areas that you needed more, practice in. So they really individualized it in that sense, which I loved. And I just had some incredible rotations. Like I was working at Shriners Hospital with, severe burn and trauma unit. And, you wouldn't get that experience at some of these other, basic internship programs, which again, they're fantastic. But this was something specifically that I wanted more exposure and variety and flexibility. So that was one of the rotations that, it was amazing. That opportunity to work in that population was great. And then, all the other rotations in community settings and really getting involved. And, I'm from outside of Boston, but I didn't know much about Boston at the time. So having to kind of immerse myself in the community, not only just as a person, but also as a dietitian professional was really, I think, amazing to start my career and start, my life here in Boston.
That's awesome. How long was it?
Oh yeah. Sorry. It was 8 months.
8 months.
Yeah.
Which that's a heavy dose of reality to accustom yourself to a new city and all the places to go. And how do you find a place to live? And
it was tough. And I'm not a big fan of public transportation, only for the fact that I'm just not familiar with it. And I think, we don't like things that we're not comfortable with. And so it took me a while to venture out towards the train, but you would laugh if you saw how easy it was to get from my front door to some of my sites. But I still drove to some of them because it was that anxiety.
Oh, I can resonate with that. Yeah. The unknown is always so scary.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. Do you use public transportation now?
All the time. It's so funny. I've been here for, a little over 2 years now, and I park my car and I leave it there for weeks at a time and I don't touch it because I respect public transportation, and I realize it is so necessary if you want to get anywhere in Boston at a reasonable time.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Will you ever not have a car at some point, but you probably go home and see your family. So
nice. I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's different. It's a different lifestyle. I mean, it'd be hard to kind of make that transition.
Yeah.
Not having a car if you're used to having one.
Yeah.
So after internship, you passed your test.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic, amazing thing. So what kind of was your first stepping stone into your career?
Yeah. So I had been I had the idea of doing my own thing for a while. And the clinical side of things was never, I think a lot of dietitians will say, clinical, I'm not really interested in it. I never had a hard set no on anything. I really went into it with an open mind of, obviously I've been in school for so many years, like somebody just, take me and give me a job. Part of it is that.
That too.
Yeah. But also, I knew that I know myself, and I knew that if I was doing something that made me unhappy or I didn't feel was purpose driven, then I would just burn out, because I didn't take, any time off between school and master's and internship. So, I needed something that was really going to be like, okay, this is what you should be doing, which is a little, tough because you're an entry level dietitian, right? So the idea of, pursuing my passion was pretty scary, but I had been seeing clients, friends, family for years, and kind of coaching and just doing that here and there, even while I was in school. And so I had kind of already set myself up with not only just the practice of already working one-on-one with clients, but also just the idea of, okay, you know, how do I market myself? And which really didn't mean anything other than just, you know, sharing my story with other people. And so when I finished my internship, I looked around and looked for some jobs, and I knew I wanted to do something along the lines of, you know, something in the field of mental health. And so my sister is actually, she's sober, 6 years sober, and she works at a recovery center that she, you know, was in the program for. And so they hired me as the dietitian. So I'm now the dietitian for their 2 companies out in California. I see those clients virtually. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, which is amazing. They're honestly probably, I don't mean to pick favorites, but they're probably my favorite clients to work with. So I work with those clients on a weekly basis. And then I also, you know, the fitness aspect of it was really, you know, I love the idea of eating for performance and fueling your body. And, you know, growing up a full-time athlete anyway, it was always something I was really passionate about. So I found Wellness in Motion Boston, which is an amazing company. They have chiropractors and acupuncturists and massage therapists, and I really loved their mission. And I just sent the boss an email, and Ian is his name, Dr. Nurse, and said, you know, hey, really love your company. Are you looking to hire anyone? And he brought me in for an interview, and he's like, yeah, you're hired. So
wow.
I tapped into a couple different areas of places that I knew that I wanted to really touch. And then I said, okay, and now I'm going to focus on building my own brand and my own thing. And so fast forward to here, and that's kind of where I'm still at, is I'm, you know, still working for those companies, contracting for them, and, you know, then opening my door to anybody else.
That is really awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing as dietitians, which that's awesome that you did that, is, hey, just go find something that you're interested in. Why not just go ask?
Yeah.
Like you did.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, I applied for so many jobs on, you know, Indeed and, you know, Job Finder, whatever. And none of those jobs, I didn't even hear back from so many of them. And I just kind of knew that, and this was the same thing for the internship too. The reason why I love Simmons is because they allowed you to submit a video that, you know, said why you wanted to be in the program. And I love the opportunity of just, okay, you sit down and you talk with someone and you tell them why they should hire you. And I think when people meet people one-on-one, or when you are more personable, it's a lot easier to, you know, make those connections. And I just had a feeling that that's how I would kind of, you know, find myself in the industry.
Kind of just having that one-on-one in-person touch with people.
Yeah.
And I'd like you to talk more about being in the field of mental illness. You know, that's not something that we get a lot of education on. So how did you kind of navigate? I know your own personal experiences, but how do you kind of break into that field? How do you get education? What did you do to get the knowledge to help those individuals?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, yeah, like you said, one of the biggest things was experience. I mean, growing up with a father with mental illness, you know, just really propelled me to do my own research, and a big fan of the gut microbiome. I've been going to conferences for that for years. I was always attending conferences even before I became a registered dietitian in the mental health field, especially regarding the gut microbiome, and just learning, you know, starting with the foundation of, okay, the science of the body, how does it work? You know, depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, even as deep as those conditions, and just learning really the science behind it. And then, you know, I actually, in my undergrad, I worked for a wonderful company, Programs for People, which is a day program for people that they basically help people with mental illness get back on their feet. And it's a day program, and it was incredibly wonderful. I taught nutrition classes to them. And so that was a great way for me to get experience. And so, yeah, does that answer your question a little bit? I guess that was.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I like that you said that you went to conferences even before you became a dietitian, because you don't have to go just when you're a professional. You can go if you have an interest.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing is, you know, we see it as a chore. I love going to conferences. If they were free, that would be obviously ideal, but.
Right. It's like maybe one could be free a year. That would be nice. And do you still kind of try to, I know that you've been to a lot of them, but I mean, the new research, like, do you still feel like that is just always something that you need to stay up on so you understand changes?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think, what we see is, I see a lot of things being thrown around for years of, statements of, oh, we found this in research, but who's really checking up on it and seeing what's updated? Because we trust research, right? But we don't necessarily, I don't think everyone sees the value of really making sure that you're staying up to date. And it's hard, right? Because how are you supposed to, in your everyday life, especially when you have a career or a family or whatever, stay up to date on all of it? And some of the things that I've found helpful are finding like podcasts where, I think it was Chris Kresser, Dr. Rushi or something. They have a lot of research that they'll present the study and they'll talk about the bias. So just listening to educational things like that for people that are in the research field and staying on top of them, following them on social media, reading books, and books even take a while to come out, but just staying on top of things and, just like doing your research on your own as well, but following people in the research field and keeping that connection is also really has been helpful for me.
What was the name of the podcast? Just the one that with the research that
I think it was Chris Kresser. Yeah, I think he was the one, and he has an RD section to his as well. And what I loved about his research and Dr. Rushio's is that it's very unbiased. It's very, they present it in a very unbiased way where it's, here's the research, here's the issues with this research study. Like they'll say, okay, here's how many subjects did they use? That was probably bad. There's no, they're not swaying you in any way, which I think I really appreciate.
Yeah. Well, and I think dietitians, we need to be more on top of that stuff.
Oh yeah.
I think sometimes we can get kind of lax. Like we can just read like the bullet headlines that everybody else reads, and we comment, but we don't really get into it and kind of realize what's more of the study about, what we need to know about it before we're either commenting or not commenting on it.
Yes.
So that's something I'm trying to be better at too myself, because I know I was probably, when I was a younger dietitian, I was more into it. And now that I'm a little bit older dietitian, I'm like, well, I don't really.
Yeah, no, it's so true. You're right. It's hard to really invest in it. I really invest my time into it, so I make the time to do it, but it's hard. It's time consuming. Reading research can be time consuming. So also having those backups of, okay, well, this person's also doing this for me, so how can I make it a little easier to stay up to date on it as well?
Sure. And a podcast could definitely.
Yeah.
Listening to that. When you have done your research and the microbiome and the gut and the brain and all that connection, what has been the most fascinating thing that you've learned about that you try to apply in your practice?
I think the impact of stress on, our gut. I think that's one of the biggest things. Is a lot of people come to me and they want to talk about food, and of course the connection between what we're putting in our bodies is so important. But I always like to use the example of a garden. Planting the seed versus watering the plants is, you have to have that foundation. And sometimes if we're putting high levels of stress on our body and our gut microbiome, it's hard to see improvements with just food if we're not addressing it from a holistic perspective. So I think the direct impact of number one is stress, but then the food that we put in our bodies and how that can absolutely change your gut microbiome, and not even your gut microbiome, but your genetics because of that. So it's just fascinating to me.
It kind of is to me too. And I guess I always think about like my role sometimes as a dietitian. I'm becoming more of like a therapist. Yeah. Like not necessarily a food therapist, but kind of like that emotional aspect therapist. So kind of dealing with the stress part first and the food part second. Do you find that in your practice? It's
funny that you say that, because I don't work closely with a lot of other dietitians. It's nice to hear you say that, because I feel the same way. And, and of course, I work in the mental health field, but it doesn't, aside from that, with my other clients, it does a lot of the time feel more like being a therapist. And, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just very interesting to me that it's well, not interesting, but it's funny when people come into your office and they think they're just going to talk about food. And
Right.
sometimes we don't even touch food. We don't even talk about it. And it's maybe, 5 or 6 sessions down the line, but there's got to be that foundation there.
Well, that makes me happy that you say that too, because sometimes I'm like, we didn't talk about food for the last 3 sessions, and am I doing a disservice to this client, or am I doing something wrong as a dietitian or as a practitioner, or is this really a big part of what we should be doing?
Yeah, and you know what? I think it's almost a blessing in some cases, because it's almost as if they were put there for a reason. And I think a lot of humans in general, we have the ability to be empathetic. We have the ability to, help other people and connect with other people. And I feel that should be a huge focus of our training, because of how it ends up falling into our laps. So, I think it's a wonderful thing. I think we just need to make sure that we're prepared for it.
I do too. And I think that you're right. I think it needs to be part of our training.
Yeah.
It needs to be part of it sooner than later, because I think, like you said, there's just such a huge connection between our brains and our guts and our ability to just be able to have a happy life, a stress-free life, not obsess about food, all of that kind of stuff. It all kind of intermingles.
Absolutely.
So kind of tell me a day. So you have your own practice. You are doing some contracting across the oceans, basically. And, how do you kind of balance, and how do you work with, is it difficult working with someone virtually versus someone in person? Like, maybe talk about that a little.
That's a great question. And to be honest, I was really nervous starting out in that way, doing the virtual stuff. And I don't really see anyone else virtually other than this with those 2 companies, because I really prefer to meet with people in person. But I was nervous at first, and I thought, okay, how am I going to connect with them? Is this going to impact, our work together? Because one of the things I really value is my ability to connect with other people. And is there going to be that disconnect? And, I've been there for several months now, and I have found that it's not limiting at all, because we are video, so I can see their expressions, and there's no lag or anything like that. And, it takes a little bit of, maybe a little bit longer to open up with someone when you're on video. I'd say a few minutes or so more than maybe if you were physically in front of the person. But especially these clients, they're already, going through different therapies and stuff throughout the day, maybe before or after they're seeing me. So they're very used to kind of opening up a little bit. So I think there's also that side of it that does make things a little bit easier. But I think you really have to make sure that you're using, I don't know, maybe emphasizing certain things because it's over video, but really making sure that you're paying very close attention to detail of, doing certain things to make sure that you're not losing that personal, in-person connection.
That's a very good point. Because I can see myself sometimes not paying as close attention as I should. Via a screen as via in person. So
and I blow it up. Like, I just had a client right before we got on here, and I blow up the screen so that I can see myself and I can see them. So it's my full screen. I don't have anything else in the background. I used to take notes on my computer. Now I take notes on my note, like just by hand. I put my phone on do not disturb. So I am really focusing on, and it makes it feel more personal, to be honest. And then I also, I go out there every once in a while. So just a couple weeks ago, I did a trip out there, and I do seminars. So I'll go out and we'll do part of it's cooking. So for instance, the last talk that I did was on the gut-mind connection. And I talked all about the gut microbiome and, foods for mental health. And then we paired it with a food. So salmon for the omega-3s and some coleslaw, sauerkraut for probiotics. And then, that kind of, for me to see the nurses and the staff, and then also some of the clients that were in at the time, was really great, because it somehow just brought it closer, and so that helps as well.
Yeah. Seeing the environment that they're in, and now that you can kind of talk to their caretakers and just be kind of able to have that personal connection. Well, that's awesome that you can go do that too. That's really great.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love food, right?
Yeah, I know. And the chef, oh my gosh, both of them, they're just incredible. And I'm very close with both of the chefs there. We're almost like texting every day. And so that helps too, because, I know what snacks they have on hand. I know what the chef is cooking. And he is, oh my gosh, his food is incredible. Like, I wish he's making the most exquisite dishes. I'm like, if I could eat this every day, that would be wonderful.
We should just all have a personal chef, right?
I agree.
So at home, when you're doing your consultations, you go on site to some of your the contract that you have in Boston, or do you eat at home? Or what does it look like for you at your business at home?
Yeah, that's a great question. So a lot of the times I'm actually traveling to my clients, and this is for my Nutrition Rewired personal business. And so for those clients, a lot of the times I'm either going to their home or we're meeting at a shared workspace or a coffee shop. And then for Wellness in Motion, they have multiple different offices. So I will see those clients in those offices. I get to use their office space, which is great. But, on any given day, I could be taking the tea to one place and then another place and then going back home and then driving, to another location and then maybe seeing a client on Skype in my apartment. And so it's all over the place. I've gotten a little bit better at structuring it to have some sort of consistency, but I am all over the place is the best way for me to put it.
Do you like that?
Yeah, I do. Variety? I like it to an extent. Yeah.
Do you feel like you get pulled too many directions some days?
Some days, yes, I won't lie, but there are things that I have learned. Like, for instance, if I say, okay, I'm going to book one day as my, stay at home day and get, all my notes and stuff like that done. And so I think just organization and planning has really helped it not feel as hectic. And then other than that, I think I really do enjoy just having multiple things going at once. And I'm not yet to be bored. It feels like I've been doing this for like forever, and it's fun, and it's really fun.
Well, that's good. That's good. You can say it's fun. That means a ton.
Yeah.
I know that you have your own personal business, and it's called Nutrition Rewired. So what is kind of the vision for your business? Where did the name come from?
So it basically, I had High on Health was my, I was in college and I was trying to come up with a cool name, and I was into fitness and nutrition, and I wasn't really drinking in school. I had kind of gone through the big party phase in high school. And so I thought a cute name would be High on Health. So that was my first name. And then, when I decided to get a little bit more professional and a little bit of encouragement from my mother, she's like, it's not really a professional name. People might get the wrong idea. So I said, okay, fair enough. And I sat down, took a pencil and was like, okay, what is it that I feel like I want to portray through my brand name? And I loved the idea of rewiring kind of multiple things about our body. So one being, okay, the brain and the way that we view nutrition and food and just overall wellness, and, rewiring what we've been taught and some of the misconceptions about health and what that looks like. And then also, with as we age, we go through multiple things in life. We take medications, we, go through different things that kind of cause alterations in our body. So getting back to more of a state of homeostasis and rewiring the body, and that's more of a physical sense. So that's kind of where I came up with the name.
I like it.
Yeah.
I wish you could put all those things underneath your name of your business so people understand. Yeah.
Yeah. Some people, I think it's not the catchiest name. And part of it was like, okay, well, also what domain name is available, right? If we're being realistic, you need to find a domain name. And so, it's some people, I like to explain it because, like you said, it's not as obvious. And, but that's the mission behind it. So we'll see. Maybe it'll change down the road. Who knows? But for now, I'm rolling with it.
I like it. And what do you kind of see for the future of your business? What's kind of the next steps for you?
Yeah. So I've been doing a lot of thinking about that. And I was actually, I do some meal prep for some clients, and that part of my business was actually it's not really part of my business. It was just a side hobby. I cook for a couple people on Sundays. Some of my clients, I meal prep all their food for the week and deliver it to them. And so
oh my gosh, where do you have time to do that?
I know. You can see why I'm still single.
Oh my gosh.
So I love to cook. And it's a great thing to do, to just be able to make people food and deliver it. And it's tailored to their nutrition. And who doesn't love, like you said, we'd all like a personal chef, and essentially they have one.
Mm-hmm.
And so that started out as something I was thinking about doing recently. And then after doing some thought, I realized, okay, that's not necessarily where my passion is. I don't necessarily want to be in the food service industry, being in a manager position. And so I guess my point is I'm in a state right now where I'm trying to figure out where I'm going, but I know for sure that I want to grow my nutrition, counseling business, and start including something on a larger scale in terms of, I love working one-on-one with clients, and I never want to lose that. But I really love speaking in front of groups. I've, big groups, small groups, whatever. I love community. And so maybe expanding, doing something like I'm going to start doing cooking classes at a cardiology clinic in Chestnut Hill here in Boston. And so I'm really excited to do that. We're going to do, like meal prep, food demos and things like that with nutrition education behind it. So, moving towards that direction and, reaching people on a larger scale is important to me, but not losing that individual one-on-one. So, maybe next year I'll have a physical practice. I've already credentialed with insurance companies, so I just don't have someone doing billing. So it's there, but I'm not actually, billing insurance right now. So maybe at some point I'll pursue that and have an office space, but just kind of, it's only been a short time since I've, started my business, but it feels like, everything's been moving really fast, and I'm trying to, just make sure that I'm taking it slow and seeing where it goes. I'm also becoming a holistic cannabis practitioner. I know you've seen my CBD oil that I launched recently.
Yes.
So that's always going to be part of my practice. I'm now educating people on the uses of, cannabis and CBD oil. And so I'm already growing that line. I'm having a pet line. It should be here next week. So now I can offer that to my clients' pets. And so that's kind of a way to set my practice apart and offer people a holistic alternative to some of the common ailments that we hear in our everyday lives. So that's another thing that we're in the works.
I think you need to talk about that a little bit more, because I think that's an area of dietetic that I'm so interested in, and I think a lot of people are. So becoming a practitioner in it, what is involved in that? Is that
so
it's hard.
Yeah. So I was at Fancy, and were you at Fancy?
I wasn't this past year. No.
Okay. So this year they had a great talk on cannabis, and that was initially what propelled me to just move forward with it, because my grandfather specifically, he's had chronic pain forever, and kind of a last resort was trying CBD oil, which was something that really seemed to help him. And, also had tried using it myself before from a friend's mom who had been, selling it through a small company. And so I knew the benefits that, close to home of it, but never thought, okay, I would incorporate this into my business. But then having a history of also being on, multiple medications myself for things, in the past, and really just being more cautious for reaching for, a pill for things, the use of CBD was very intriguing to me. And so Fancy, seeing that as part of the dietetics field and its emergence, was crazy. I thought, wow, this is amazing. I have to get into this. And so becoming a holistic cannabis practitioner, it's through the Holistic Cannabis Academy, and they're recognized by the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, which is part of why I chose the certification. And so you do, a sort of courses online. You pay tuition as if you would, for a regular college. It's not cheap. But at the end, you're able to really coach people through the uses of, medical cannabis, and then also just dosage wise, and really giving people some guidance on an area that is very, I think we're all pretty skeptical of it, and it's very new. And so I'm excited to kind of bring that as part of my practice.
I think that's awesome because I feel like it's everywhere, but no one really knows enough about it, like you said.
Yeah.
And they're scared of it, but they also are very intrigued by it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you go to a local coffee shop and they're like, would you like a coffee with some CBD oil in it? And it's okay. Like, we don't even know what we're putting in there. So right. I wanted to really bring a product that I could ensure that there was, quality was a big thing, but then safety, and just being able to show people that, you really need to, trusting someone where you're getting the source, and they need to provide you with, the certificate of analysis showing that there is no THC in it, because a lot of these products out there, they actually do have THC in it. And some people aren't looking for that or don't need that part of the plant for some of the things they're looking for. So there's so many things to consider. And I really, I wanted to bring something that was a great quality, safe product to people. And so that's where my intention was.
So how does one find, how do you find a place to create a product that kind of fits your specifications? Was it something easy to do?
Yeah. So absolutely. So I looked into getting a wholesaler, and I had been doing this for months. I was, spending time online, calling different places. There's so many questions you want to ask. And I was, learning myself, and I'm okay. So where's your farm located? You want to know, are they practicing organically? Are they growing organically? And how are they extracting the compounds from the plant? So there were so many things that I was learning that you need to ask a wholesaler, because that's what you want to do. You want to find a wholesaler that will get you the product, and then you can brand it, which is what I do. So people always ask me, they go, "Oh, you make CBD oil?" I said, "No, I'm not a scientist."
In your kitchen, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, no way. I said, it is bottled and sealed to me by the time it gets to my door. But so you have to find someone that you trust. And I found, a company online, and so they are now my wholesaler, and, they provide me with the lab testing for each batch that's done, which is amazing. And that's what everyone should do. And that way, if, my clients are concerned or have questions, I can just send that right over to them.
That's really awesome. That is really awesome. What do you primarily recommend uses for CBD oil?
Yeah. So I think it's different for everyone. So pain relief is a big one. There's definitely some benefits to that. Usually higher dosage would be beneficial for pain relief. And sometimes THC comes into play, which again, my product doesn't have THC in it. I don't have a full spectrum product yet. Maybe down the road I'll consider that, but right now it doesn't. But so pain relief, anti-seizure properties. I have a client who's epileptic who's using it and has had incredible benefits, which is awesome. His neurologist even signed off on it, which I thought was really, really wonderful.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Anxiety and depression. So there's been, some uses for that with a lot of my clients. There's a little bit of research on the idea of, fighting cancer and possibly having anti-tumor effects. But again, there's no claim to say that's going to cure or solve cancer or anything like that. But the biggest things that my clients will find or have found with the uses are things like sleep, anxiety, depression, symptoms, and just overall kind of pain management. And I'm not talking, clients who have extreme pain. We're talking like, soreness from a workout or some back pain from having a heavy lifting job. Much higher dosages would probably be more appropriate for someone who is, in severe pain.
Sure. Well, I think it's awesome that you're that passionate about it, that you're even selling your own product.
Yeah.
Because that means that you put that TLC into a product.
Yeah.
Thought into it. Well, and there's so many different ones on the market, and I wouldn't know even where to begin to, like, I had a client come into my office and she pulled out like 4 different ones out of her purse. And I'm like, I don't even know what I don't even know. I can't even tell you what is the right thing to look for. So,
and so, when a client does that, I always say, sorry, go ahead.
I was like, I'll have to look at it. So what do you say if a client would bring out a bottle and say, well, is this a good one? Or what should I look for?
So I always ask for, I say, go back to the company and ask them for the certificate of analysis. I say, I want the lab testing because, other than that, there's no way to say what's in it. But the first thing to do with a label is to look, okay, what's in it? Is there actually, CBD oil in here? And so you want to say, okay, is there stevia in it? Is there natural flavors? Is it mostly olive oil? Because there's no way to tell what is actually the composition of what's in it by looking at the label. You need the certificate of analysis to do that. And so, you can look at the label and say, okay, what's in here? And, is there artificial colors, flavorings, what have you? And are those appropriate? And then the next step would be, okay, the only way that I can ensure that this is really safe for you to take is with those lab reports.
Okay. Well, that's a good to know because I would have never, like, I have, and I agree. There's probably things like olive oil. There's probably a whole bunch of different additives in a lot of these different products and price points too. So I'm sure maybe not one that costs $10 is going to be one that's a really good option.
Gas stations will sell, and so a lot of the times you said, it's mostly just like olive oil. My client came in today and he said, I saw honey sticks at the gas station that had CBD oil in them. I just laugh. And
oh my god.
So if you're paying for a great quality product, you might spend a little extra, but that's because you're paying for good quality. And Consumer Labs also has been testing some CBD products, which I usually tend to pump out on social media on my stories if there is a quality product that's been approved by Consumer Labs, because they'll randomly test products and say, okay, there is actually CBD oil in here, or there is actually THC in here. So I'm always sharing those. I'm not, there's no competition here. I'm literally just trying to provide people with safe, good quality products. So if there are other brands out there that are, giving a true product that they say is what it is, then I share those.
That's awesome. That's awesome to know because it's a whirlwind of, like you said, coffee shops, gas stations, any nutrition store. I mean, there's even like drinks. There's even drinks I've seen that have CBD in it. You always are like, well, what is this person really going to get from taking this? And I think if you're an actual practitioner, how long does it take to become a practitioner?
So I'm not sure actually, because I'm sure how many like classes and whatnot there are on the actual thing, but you do it at your own pace. So it's totally up to you. You could probably do it in a couple months. You could do it in a year. It depends how much time you have.
Sure. That's exciting. Well, I'll be watching for when you're all. I would love to hear a presentation like you saw at Fancy on more about that, because
absolutely
I do get a lot of questions about it. There's a lot of questions about it.
And it's good. I want people to ask questions. I want that. I think that's what we should be doing in all areas of nutrition is, we should be asking why. We should be asking what's in everything. We should be educating ourselves because, that's the most important thing.
Well, I probably have asked you questions. You'll just be my guru. So if I have questions, I'll be sending you messages.
Please do.
And I will definitely put your website, because your website is that where you sell your product as well?
Yes.
Okay. So it's on your website, and I'll definitely share your Instagram handle and all those things.
Awesome.
You do share a lot of great information on your Instagram handle too.
Thank you.
So you've taught me a lot of things. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. It was a pleasure talking with you. It's been so nice spending the last hour together.
I know. And I just think all the things that you're doing is just progressive, and it's an area, they're both areas that I think everyone needs a little bit more information about, and dietitians, including educating ourselves a little bit more, mental health side, CBD side, all of that type of stuff. Very important.
Absolutely.
Well, I know that I will keep in touch with you, but I do have to ask you the hard questions now, which if you've listened to the podcast, you know them.
Yep.
So you'll have to share. Good. That's my favorite part too. Well, please share with me some of the foods that you enjoy.
So I would say some of my favorite foods are basically any sort of nut butter or seed butter. I absolutely love almond butter. Trader Joe's is my favorite brand. I love sunflower seed butter, and so that would be my first favorite food. I love chocolate. Chocolate is like I think that I've transitioned in my life from more of a candy person to more of a chocolate person. And I think that from a mental health perspective, everyone should indulge in some chocolate every once in a while.
Now that's a good prescription I can get behind, I think.
And
do you like, are you dark chocolate, milk chocolate, all chocolate?
I don't like just plain chocolate. I like something in it. So something with a crunch, almonds, or even just like sea salt or something, but more of not completely dark. I'd say like a 65 to 75%.
That's a good range. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not too much. It's just a lot of flavor.
Yes, exactly.
What about beverages? What are some beverages you enjoy?
My favorite beverages. So I am a tea addict. I love tea, and it is the best way to get me to drink tons of water, especially in the winter when I'm freezing and don't want to. I love chai teas and ginger teas, just anything, all types of teas. And I love a good Moscow Mule. I know you said no alcoholic drinks are off limits, so I would say that would be my favorite.
Absolutely. I'm a tea drinker too, and chai tea is probably my absolute favorite as well.
Oh, chai is the best.
I'm with you. It is the best. I kind of want to just put chai in everything that I eat almost.
That's actually not a bad idea. I think we should talk more about that.
I know. I was even thinking how good would it be in enchilada sauce? An enchilada
amazing. Probably amazing.
I know. So good. It's so delicious. So maybe if I come up with that creation, I will share.
Please do.
Do you have a favorite color or colors?
So my favorite color, I was thinking about this one when I was reading your thing. So I like to think of what color I think I'm drawn to more pastel type colors, Easter type colors. I really seem to like those a lot. I also really like the color purple.
Purple. Purple's so awesome. I love it. I love purple.
I think especially a darker purple. Yeah.
Yeah. I tend to get drawn to those in clothes, dark purples and eggplant, nail polish, all that kind of stuff. So
yes.
Yeah. A favorite scent or favorite scent?
My favorite scent is probably. This is a tough one for me. I don't really like lavender because I grew up on too much lavender. I think I'm so out lavendered for some reason. But I love lemon essential oils or citrusy type smells.
Kind of clean. I was going to ask if you liked essential oils, if you used them or if
yes,
they were
I love
part of your daily.
Love them. I don't use them as much as I probably should, but I have a diffuser in my room, and I tend to use them more when I'm cleaning the apartment or, right before going to bed, but I love them. I think everyone should try to use them at least a little bit.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Yeah, citrus is delicious. It's so clean. It makes you, even if your house isn't clean, it makes it seem like
which I definitely need, especially after a long day of meal prepping for my clients. It's okay, something needs to look nice here.
I bet your kitchen gets destroyed, huh?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yep.
Yeah. Do you prep for yourself at the same time?
I do. Well, I do a half version of it where I cook a lot of bulk stuff, and then I eventually just create meals with it throughout the week. I don't portion anything out, or I just kind of go with what I'm feeling.
That's it. Yeah, that would be more of the way I would do it.
Yeah.
Interesting. What brings you joy in life?
What brings me joy in life? I love babies and dogs, I would say, would be the first thing. And then just seeing other people happy and seeing other people be the best versions of themselves and being their happiest self.
And I'm sure you apply that with your all the people in your life, your people that you
Yes.
practice with, your
Yep.
family. I
Mhm.
definitely see that about you. That's
I ask
awesome.
every client at the beginning of our session, I ask each client, what would the best version of yourself look like? And that's where we start off.
Oh, is that hard? Is it hard to get answers in the beginning?
I tell them, I say, you don't have to answer that, but I want you to think about it as we go through the session. I want that to be something that, let's not talk just about physical. Let's say, okay, and I had a client today said mental clarity, more focus, and things like that. I think are a good reminder of, okay, what's the ultimate goal here in life? What's the big picture here? What's our purpose? What is our passion? And leading with that can be very powerful.
That's a great way to start a session.
Yeah.
Dietitians, we just need to reformulate a little bit, I think.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. And I'm excited I got the opportunity to talk with you. And
the pleasure was mine. Seriously.
Good. Well, thank you. Erin is very inspiring, and I appreciate how her passion comes from such a personal place. Mental health is an area for dietitians which I think is emerging, and I agree with Erin that the science of understanding it is a great place to start educating ourselves. So much of our profession is interacting with our clients, especially their mental health, and during the process taking care of our own. My website, AnnElizabethRD.com, is where you can read my latest Embrace the Hell Yeah blog post, as well as all my previous podcasts, show notes, and links to things we talked about during all my conversations with these great nutrition experts. My book is also available to purchase on my website, and I hope we can connect more on social media by finding me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest at AnnElizabethRD. Remember to be great always, find the joy in each day, and to start a conversation that truly matters.